Hello everybody, it's Fufu here, and I am back for another top 5 most wanted megas video. We are on to Generation 5 now. We've done Generations 1 to 4. Please go and watch the previous videos if you hadn't seen them already. As always, these aren't just my opinions. I have gone on Twitter and posted a poll so that people can vote. I've gathered a number of votes and we have now come to the decision as to what are the top 5 most wanted Mega Evolutions from Generation 5. So if we see more of these guys, it would be great to see. Currently, there's only Mega or Dino, so there's a huge host to choose from this time, and it's going to be super interesting to see which ones you guys chose. So let's get straight into the list. Number 5. Well, I kind of tricked you a little bit. This is actually going to be a top 6 because 2 Pokemon came in at equal 5th. The first one of those is Bisharp. Bisharp has that really cool, unique Dark Steel typing, and it is a menace with it because it has a very high attack stat, and it is a great wall breaker. It gets access to the Stab knockoff move, always a very powerful move, and can take down those fairies with the Steel typing too, so it is just a rather good Pokemon. So what would we do with a Mega Evolution? Well, I've seen a number of designs for this thing, and they usually have something in common in which Bisharp gains a weapon, like a lance or a sword in one hand and a shield in the other. So I've tried to emphasize that design in what I've done here. It's going to keep that Dark Steel typing. It's such good offensive typing that anything else would kind of be a little bit of a nerf for this guy. So I think keeping the Dark Steel typing is really important. I've boosted the attack by 40 points, which is a really solid boost, and I've boosted the defense and special defense by 20 points each because I think it will obviously be bulkier if it has a shield. That just makes sense. And then I've also given it 20 extra points in speed, which will be really nice for just outspeeding a few more things, being a little bit more of an effective wall breaker there. Although it's by no means one of the fastest megas around, but I think that's quite good because Bisharp has Sucker Punch anyway, so it doesn't need to be the fastest thing around. With extra bulk and extra attack, I think that would actually serve it a lot better. In terms of the abilities, I've gone a bit strange here. I think that Bisharp is very offensively oriented normally, and with this new Mega and with the shield, I thought that it would be quite important to emphasize the more defensive aspect of having the shield. So I went with 2 interesting choices of filter, meaning that super effective hits against you are less powerful. I wouldn't necessarily think it would be called filter. I think it might be called something else like Iron Shield or something like that. So super effective attacks are less powerful, and that would help it take things like earthquakes, maybe even Mach punches and things like that, even though they're 4 times super effective. With this ability, it would be able to survive them a little bit better, and the extra defenses. But the one that I think is more interesting is Bulletproof. Now, the main reason why this would help is because it would make Mega Bisharp immune to Focus Blast, which is one of the things that's most scared of from a lot of Psychic types. Psychic types carry Focus Blast to hit things like Bisharp and also Tyranitar, but if Bisharp was immune to them, it could switch in far more easily, and that's great because Bisharp likes to Pursuit Trap those Psychic types. So if it was immune to that, you could do that job even easier. You could take out those Psychics so well, and I think it would be really cool to see. It would be immune to some other moves, but it's probably not as crucial because you don't see them used as much, or Bisharp already resists things like Shadow Ball and Energy Ball, so it wouldn't be that crucial, but it just would be a really neat ability to be able to be immune to that Focus Blast. Also joint 5th was Golurk, the really cool ground ghost dude, the original ground ghost dude, because we now have Palisand as well. Golurk is really, really cool. He's got this great giant design, and his stats are really neat as well. Very high attack stat and some decent bulk, but not the fastest and very little special attack. What we see Golurk doing most of the time is setting up Stealth Rock hazards and hitting things hard with those earthquakes and any punching attacks, and also a lot of the time Dynamic Punch. It does have that no guard Dynamic Punch, which is a pain but also very fun to use. So what would we do with a Mega Evolution? Now, I think with this guy, he's got really nice stats already, and really just with extra stats, it already makes him pretty great. I don't think that ground ghost typing would change very much. I just think that we'd see the attack go up to 154, a really, really strong attack stat. We'd see the defenses shore up to base 105 each, which again is really great, and with that base 89 HP, which is already quite high, this thing would really easily be able to take hits and could be a very good rapid spin blocker. If opponents are trying to get rid of the entry hazards, you'd be able to stop that because he's immune. And then also, I'm going to put 20 points into its speed, because then it would be able to outrun a lot of things and also be able to rock polish really well. It would be faster than pretty much everything after a rock polish and could do some sweeping, which would be really neat. So I want to just shout out my friend Pancakes who suggested this set. I think it's a really nice stat spread, and in terms of abilities, maybe keeping Iron Fist would be really good. I like Iron Fist for Golurk because it does mean it's got Shadow Punch, which is a little bit more viable. Otherwise it doesn't have a very good ghost move to use, and also Ice Punch is boosted as well, and ground typing attacks along with ice type attacks have great coverage, so Earthquake and Ice Punch on their own do a large amount of work. But another ability that I could see, I don't really know a name for it, maybe something like Consuming Shade, would work a little bit like Water Bubble for Araquanid in the fact that it doubles the power of ghost type moves that Golurk would use. I really like this idea because it then would boost Shadow Punch's power even further, and it would be a bit of a nuke along with that Earthquake. Both of those attacks would hit so hard. Now, why I think that would be great for Golurk is otherwise it doesn't really have great stab moves. As I say, it relies on Iron Fist Shadow Punch, which even then isn't the most powerful move. You use it to hit the psychic types, but other than that, it's not great. If you could Mega Evolve and get double power on your ghost type moves, that would be so great. You could even maybe try and run like a Shadow Ball set, because that would still hit quite hard, but I think Shadow Punch with a ghost boosting ability would be so cool to see, and it would make this guy so potent. Number 4. Krookodile. We are now entering very scary territory. The rest of this list is terrifying, and for good reason. Generation 5 have a lot of Pokemon that don't have Megas yet, and there are a lot of really badass Pokemon that are going to be so insane with a Mega. Krookodile has really, really great utility already. It's a nice bulky Pokemon, it has good bulk, but it also has a great attack stat and great stab moves in Ground and Dark. It's got Earthquake, it's got Knockoff, they're both very high power moves that it can spam. It's got amazing abilities already too in Intimidate and Moxie. So what are we going to do with a Mega? Well, first off, I think it would keep that Ground Dark typing. I don't think it would lose the Dark typing as secondary typing, because Ground Dark is already great, and as I say, Knockoff and Earthquake spam is just so good. If we look at the stats, you can see how insane this is. I've put 50 points into attack. This guy is going to be an attacking monster. It's a flipping Krookodile, so of course it is. And I'm going to give it a lot of speed. I think the Krookodile will become a lot faster. It is a reptile. I can see it just slithering away and getting really fast. Plus 30 points there to a base 122, which is very fast. The rest of the points, we've only got 20 points remaining, I've put into its bulk just to help it out a little bit. And in terms of the ability, I'm going to stick with Moxie here, and I don't think that this is any bad thing at all, because what it allows you to do is have an Intimidate Krookodile come in, intimidate your opponent, then Mega Evolve, and still benefit from Moxie, which is insane. This thing will be able to tear through teams so easily with its stab attacks and its coverage. I can't believe how easy it was to make this thing broken. I'm not sure if it is broken. I think that it could be revenge killed, but if this thing were to happen, it would dominate the OU tier. It would dominate any competitive sphere that you would put it in. It's a very scary Pokemon. Number 3, Volcarona. So here we are, we're going to continue the theme of broken Pokemon. I really like the way that I've approached this one though, so bear with me. Volcarona, we know, a very powerful special attacker, and it has access to Quiver Dance. It's probably the premier Quiver Dancer because it really has great special attack already. It has a very good speed tier already, and once it gets one of those boosts, it can already be game over, especially with Fiery Dance, which allows it to attack and potentially boost its special attack even further. So how are we going to do a Mega Evolution? Well, what I thought would be really important for this Pokemon would be, one of its flaws at the moment is it's very frail on the physically defensive side. So I thought shoring that up as much as possible would be good, and also it would limit how much you could increase that special attack, because I think if you increase a special attack lots and lots, it would just be too much. It would be way too much. So I'm thinking increasing that defense by 40 points, which is the majority of its Mega Boost. That would really help it out. It would have 105 defense then. And also what's really neat is in VGC, this Pokemon generally can play a defensive role as well, because it has the nice Flame Body ability before it Mega Evolves, and it has access to Rage Powder and things like that, Will-O-Wisp, so it can play a defensive role, and it would be really nice for it to be more effective in that role. So giving it more defense will help there. I have given it more special attack. It's now 165 special attack, which is insane, and that's not even a very much special attack investment. It's plus 30. We've got a bit more special defense with an extra 20 in there, making this Pokemon very bulky on the special side now. And I've got 10 points left over, which are going to go into speed. It does help it go a little bit faster, and with that +1, it'll outspeed even more Pokemon. In terms of the ability, what I thought would be an insanely useful ability and really apt is Dazzling. This Pokemon replaced the sun in ancient times. It was so bright it could do that. Dazzling is when a Pokemon is really bright and it means that the opponent can't use priority attacks. So can you imagine Volcarona getting +1 in its speed and then being immune to priority attacks? This thing is going to be a sweeper like no other, and I am really terrified, but I am actually really happy with how this one came out. I don't think its typing will change. Bugfire just makes way too much sense, but I really like the idea of a Dazzling Mega Volcarona. Number 2. Hydreigon. Again, Hydreigon is a pseudo-legendary. It has a very high base stat total already. It functions so well as a wall breaker. It hits so hard, and you guys want me to make it have a Mega Evolution. So this one is going to be interesting. It is a Dark Dragon type, and so it's got that Draco Meteor that hits really hard, the Dark type moves that hit really hard. So what we're going to do with the Mega? Well, I'm going to reduce its speed, and I'm really sorry about that. I know that that's really controversial, and we have seen it with other Megas, and it's really limited them, but I don't think it will do too much with this Pokemon. So I'm going to reduce its speed from 98 to 88, and there is a very good reason for that, which is because its ability is going to change, and because of the design. I think it will no longer be airborne. I think it will come back down to the ground. It will have more heads, but losing that levitate ability means that we can replace it with a better ability, but I do think it will be slower, and I think we have to reflect that in the stats. So it will have 10 less speed points, but that does mean we have a lot of stats to invest elsewhere. So I think that its attack and special attack are going to go up. I'm going to give it a 35-point boost in both of them, and then a 20-point boost in both of its defenses, meaning that it's going to hit so hard on both the physical and the special side, and also it's going to be able to tank hits really well. It is going to keep moves like Roost and Defog because it will still potentially have wings, it just can't fly with them anymore. So that means you still have recovery, you still have some really useful utility there, and you can really make the most of that bulk. But the real kicker with this one is I'm going to give it sheer force. If it has more heads, there are just more attacks coming out, and it will be so powerful. So it will lose the added effects of some of its moves. So for example, Dark Pulse won't be able to flinch anymore, but it will be so powerful because you've now got a base 160 attack firing off Dark Pulses. You've also got Fire Blast and Earth Power that will be boosted by this, and also physical moves like Crunch, like Iron Tail. This thing is going to hit really, really hard with whatever moves you're going to give it, and that is a pretty exciting prospect. So I know that I have limited a little bit because I've taken away that speed, but bear in mind, Hydreigon even gets Tailwind, so you can shore that up. Number 1. Chandelure. This one came a little bit out of the blue for me. I didn't necessarily expect Chandelure. It hasn't had a lot of coverage, for example, in the anime, but it's really nice in terms of competitive play and that Ghost Fire typing, which is unique currently, although UB Burst may well be challenging Chandelure for that typing. That's a really cool typing, especially with the fire immunity with Flash Fire. So it's a very cool Pokemon, and it has one of the highest special attack stats in the game. It hits very hard. Ghost and Fire typing is really nice, offensive typing too, and it has very good coverage already with Energy Ball to be able to hit those water types. It's a really cool Pokemon with lots of tricks up its sleeve. So what would a Mega Evolution look like? Well, I really like the design that I picked, and I have got some really interesting ideas for this. You have to let me know what you think of this, because I think it's a little bit out of the box thinking, and I could have gone for a bit more of a straightforward one. But anyway, let's talk about the stats first. The way I went about it was, first of all, I wanted to think how much I can boost that speed stat by, because Chandelure's special attack stat is huge already. The big factor for it is its speed stat. We see it choice scarfed a lot just so that it can get faster and use that already great special attack stat to the best of its ability. I think realistically I can't boost it much over 100 because if you look at normal Chandelure's design, it looks like it's fixed to the ceiling. It swings about a pivot point, and though it's levitating sort of, I don't think that it moves particularly fast. It's quite weighty and it's got a lot, especially with this design that I picked, it's got a lot of metalwork and dangly bits now, so I can't see it going too fast, but I do think the base 100 is reasonable and it would make it an incredible wall breaker. It outspeeds just a few more wall Pokemon, a few more uninvested Pokemon, so I think it's a really great speed tier to hit. Then I thought about how much I should increase its special attack. It does have one of the highest starting special attacks in the game, comparable to Alakazam, so I took a leaf out of Alakazam's book and made it 175, which matches Alakazam, and we all know how much Mega Alakazam hurts when it hits you, so this thing is going to wreck when it hits. That gives me 50 points to spend, and I'm just going to put them equally into its defenses. Its defenses are equal to start with, and that also reflects this design. With the more metalwork protecting that body, I think that it would be a lot more defensive. So this gives it an incredible spread because it does become a very bulky Pokemon, but with that insane special attack and good speed, so it can play so many roles. But in terms of its ability, this is where the thinking comes in. So I had the idea that this is obviously a haunted Chandelure, and I just think that with this charmed Chandelure, the idea is the flames just don't go out. You try and blow them out, they don't go out. So what happens when you switch out this Pokemon, it heals itself, it comes back in, the flames blazing as much as they were before. That means I'm going to give it the Regenerator ability. With the extra bulk, that will help so much, and also it will mean that the opponent's stealth rocks and entry hazards really don't matter as much, which is something that would really hinder Chandelure previously, as it had to come in on stealth rocks and take a lot of damage. It won't have to worry about that as much anymore because Regenerator really helps out. You can focus on just spamming those attacks and then switch out when you need to and get your health back. I think this is fantastic. It means that Chandelure will be a wall breaker that can last and last, and I think that this is such a cool concept. So let me know what you think. Let me know if I have done Mega Chandelure justice, because I know that a lot of you wanted this one, and I can see why now. I think this is such an interesting idea. In terms of this week, though, my favourite is probably Volcarona from this list. That is a terrifying set. The Dazzling, I think, is very scary. As always, let me know what you think in the comment section below, and go over to my Twitter account if you want to be involved in the further polls. I am going to do Generation 6, potentially Generation 7 too, and we'll go from there. But thank you very much for watching. I've been foofootoo, you've been awesome, and hopefully see you next time. Goodbye.